Good morning. We are live with a breaking update on our streaming platforms. I'm Bria Love, and within the last hour, the Supreme Court of the United States has ended constitutional protections for abortion that have been in place for nearly 50 years. Let's go ahead and take a live look at the Supreme Court right now. This is a decision by its conservative majority to overturn the court's landmark abortion cases. Now, with this ruling, more than half of the United States could ban most abortions. Take a look outside. You can see plenty of people gathered. They've been gathered since yesterday. The states, though, that you see here on your screen in orange are certain to ban abortion. And the states in yellow have something called trigger laws, where most abortions will automatically be banned. In many cases, those states make abortions a felony, which is punishable with time in prison as well as fines. Now, just earlier this week on Tuesday, Louisiana's governor signed two stricter anti-abortion bills into law. Abortion providers in that state initially faced prison terms of 1 to 5 years and fines up to $50,000. The new law increases prison terms of 1 to 10 years, and those fines go up to $100,000. There are no exceptions for abortions performed in cases of rape or incest, only when the mother's life is in danger. So here in California, state lawmakers are making moves to make the Golden State an abortion sanctuary. State lawmakers are debating 14 new bills right now that could become law. ABC 10's political reporter Morgan Reiner with the Reiner Report joins us now. So, Morgan, can you explain what these bills do?
One will create a fund to help pay for women to get abortions. That could mean costs of travel and lodging. Another allows nurse practitioners to perform early abortions. All 14 of these bills are moving forward.
It's a hard feeling for Chair of the California Women's Caucus, Cristina Garcia, to describe.
The idea of losing a right, and that's never happened in my life. It's just also just dumbfounding to me.
On one hand, she didn't think it would actually happen.
But that quickly shifted to I'm not surprised. And then just appreciative that the caucus has been prepared. In January, we announced a package of 13 bills.
AB 1666 protects patients and health professionals who perform an abortion from lawsuits when the claims are based on laws in other states. AB 2091 enhances privacy protections for medical records to law enforcement and out-of-state third parties. AB 2223 ensures that no one in California will be investigated, prosecuted, or incarcerated for experiencing pregnancy loss.
Happy to report that every single bill is moving through the legislature. They're also accompanied with over $140 million in the budget. Just blessed that we have leadership in both houses and the governor and the caucus to make sure this gets done.
Following the leaked draft decision, the legislature has added a 14th bill, a constitutional amendment to enshrine the right to abortion that is quickly making its way through the process.
We will fight hard with every legal tool possible. We will also fight with our vote.
The bills may be moving forward with a Democratic supermajority, but not all lawmakers are on board. Republican Assembly member Tom Lackey, who adopted 2 children, is pro-life.
I vote no on every bill that supports the decision to destroy an innocent life. That's just the position I will always take, and it's based on my moral commitment.
Says his decision to vote no on all 14 of these bills is not just religious.
I believe that it's in the best interest of our Constitution to allow states to make such a sensitive decision. And I think it's misunderstood what the overturning of this court decision will do.
So when do these bills go into effect? Some of them have an urgency clause, which means they will go into effect as soon as the governor signs them. Most of them, though, will take effect on January 1st.
Well, Morgan, one question I want to ask you is, we've known since the draft opinion was leaked back in May that Governor Newsom's been pretty outspoken about this. What do you think we could expect to hear from him today?
Well, the second that draft decision was leaked, Newsom came out and said this is the #1 voting issue. We immediately started to see campaign emails from him asking people to donate because of this specific issue. So we expect between now and November, and even beyond that, he's going to use this to help drive people to the polls.
Morgan, thank you. And here at ABC 10, we stand for you. So right now, we want to send you out to Washington, D.C. for a live look at House Speaker Nancy Pelosi speaking on this issue right now.
Institute their goal, which is to criminalize reproductive freedom, to criminalize it. Right now, they're saying in states that they can arrest doctors and all the rest. What is happening here? What is happening here? A woman's fundamental health decisions are her own to make in consultation with her doctor, her faith, her family, not some right-wing politicians that Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell packed the court with. While Republicans seek to punish and control women, Democrats will keep fighting ferociously to enshrine Roe v. Wade into the law of the land. This cruel ruling is outrageous and heart-wrenching, but make no mistake, again, it's all on the ballot in November. The Supreme Court has ended a constitutional right. This is 50 years proclaimed a constitutional right. What happened today was historic in many respects. Historic in that it had not recognized a constitutional right and then reversed it. This is a first. And again, just before it imposed a constitutional right to allow for concealed weapons. How about those justices coming before the senators and saying that they respected, sorry to say, the precedent of the court, that they respected the right of privacy in the Constitution of the United States? Did you hear that? Were they not telling the truth then? Again, just getting to the gun issue, because really, in preparation for this morning, I was really in an exalted state about what happened in the United States Senate yesterday. Counterpoint to the dangerous decision of this.
That was Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi speaking on this landmark ruling. So also this morning, we want to speak to some other experts about what's going on here. Let's bring in Wendy Patrick. She's a legal and political analyst. Wendy, thank you so much for joining us this morning. First off, we just want to ask, what will this mean for Californians?
Well, remember, California is not a state that's going to outlaw abortion. I think the question that many people have across the nation is, what is their state going to do? Because remember, it's about half evenly divided as to when we can have restrictions on abortion access and then when it can be outlawed or criminalized. And states are all over the map. It's sort of a patchwork of ideology across the nation. California, of course, will be business as usual. But there are many states where there are going to be new laws. And I have to say, the leak of that opinion, the writing was on the wall, and lots of these states were already putting into action some of the things that they were going to need to do to make law one way or the other. You saw the speaker very frustrated there, but this is something that's been in the works, I would even say before February, when we already knew that we had a conservative majority on the court. This was something that at some point some legal experts felt was inevitable.
Wendy, you mentioned that leak back in May, so this isn't a shock because we had an idea that it was coming, but do you see any key differences between the decision now and the leak that we heard of last month?
I don't see any key distinctions, but what I do see is public sentiment not entirely encompassing and understanding what the difference is. The Supreme Court basically said there isn't a constitutional right to abortion. And remember, in the justices' confirmation hearings, they're all asked, would you follow precedent, stare decisis? And many of them have been very clear on saying that, well, traditionally, yes, they also have to look at old law to make sure that that was decided appropriately. And there's been some very high-profile cases over the years that have done exactly that. This is now one of them. Dobbs is now one of them that looked at historical precedent for over 50 years, about 50 years, and said that was not decided correctly. Abortion was never a constitutional right. It should be up to the states to decide when to outlaw abortion, what restrictions to have. People were looking at this and just saying, it's going to have to take the right fact pattern and the right case to make its way up to the right court. Remember, and I guess that's a double entendre because the conservative bent of the court is what made this possible. But this was the case, and this is the decision.
And then, Wendy, before we go this morning, for Californians who are watching this right now, what do you think they need to know as more information continues to come out over the days and weeks?
Well, because California is not one of those states that's going to criminalize abortion or have significant restrictions. They probably will want to just keep up with what the laws say here. But many people in many different states have a very different experience depending on what their states are going to do. I also have to say that elections matter, and that's one of the things that the Supreme Court has also always said is let the states elect people that can make the laws that people want to follow. So that's another thing that's going to impact, I think, the November elections as well.
Yeah, Wendy Patrick, we appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you. Now let's bring in constitutional expert with the McGeorge School of Law, Leslie Gilo-Jacobs this morning. Leslie, good morning to you. First, we want to ask you, when it came to gun laws, the Supreme Court took away individual rights to the states. But with this giving power back to the states in this decision, why are we seeing two very different things coming out of the Supreme Court just days apart here?
Well, we're seeing that the Supreme Court justices have an agenda to expand some rights and to contract other ones. And you're exactly right that the gun decision, this decision, one of the arguments is this is such a complicated and controversial issue, abortion. It should really go back to the state legislatures. Let them decide, let the people decide. But exactly yesterday, we heard that no, that's not true with guns. Even though it is a controversial issue, that's something that the 5-6 justices will decide that, in fact, is a right that means that legislatures can't act upon it. So we are seeing choices being made by the justices on the Supreme Court about how to change the meaning of the Constitution in one way yesterday and in another way today.
And then I wanted to talk to you about matching programs that allow doctors from California, for example, to travel to a state with stricter laws to assist and perform abortions. Could this decision end a program like that and prevent them from doing this anymore?
Well, certainly doctors will have to be advised of what the laws are in the states they travel to. And so the laws in the states will apply to those doctors. And so the programs can exist and say, we'll fund you, but I think individual doctors will have to look and say, is it safe to do this here, or am I doing something illegal?
And then Leslie, lastly, we're just asking, what do you think that Californians specifically should know with this decision? I think there's a lot of worry and confusion among different sides. What would you say to them this morning?
Well, I'd say that if you're thinking just about being in California, then use your ballot box, vote for a legislature, get the laws you want. There's nothing in this decision that prohibits the California legislature or any California government body from funding abortion, from expanding access to abortion. Those things remain available. But if you're thinking about women in other states, then you should be concerned. Because they are going to experience a much different situation if they have legislatures who are going to criminalize this or otherwise prohibit abortion.
Leslie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Want to get to another expert in just a few minutes, but in the meantime, we will speak with a representative of Planned Parenthood later this morning. So let's move ahead across from that and go back and take a live look outside in D.C. this morning, if we could pull that up in just a moment here, of the people who have been outside since yesterday, just preparing for this decision. It's something that we've anticipated for a while, and again, we have now heard that the Supreme Court has ruled against abortion protections, leaving that decision up to the states now. Again, we're taking that live look outside. You can see signs in the air as people are outside awaiting that decision all morning, and now that decision again has come down. The Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, and we're still getting a lot of information, and we do know that California is working to become an abortion sanctuary state. There's plenty of bills that are moving through right now, and you're looking at an ABC reporter that's getting ready to do another live hit there. Still working on getting you more experts this morning, but again, we want to reiterate what we've talked about this morning, some of the protections that are here in California, what's being worked on, and that's something that we'll bring coming up a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look back outside this morning as we can talk about some of the things that we've discussed already. We talked to our own Morgan Reiner. She was giving us plenty of information on those bills that we're moving through this morning. And now we want to take you outside, we want to take you to a live interview with Planned Parenthood. That's Lauren Babb, the Vice President of Public Affairs for Planned Parenthood. So Lauren, I want to ask you this morning, what's your reaction to this news? Again, we're just seeing the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, and Planned Parenthood has had strong opinions on this. So what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's a very sad day when we lose a constitutional right. At Planned Parenthood Marmonte, we've been preparing for this moment for months, and now we're here. And it's not just women, it's trans people, it's gender non-binary people that will still need abortion care even with the bans in place. And so we are incredibly resolute to continue to fight to provide access to care to whomever may come to California and seek our services here. We will continue to be a beacon of hope here in California, and we hope that all of the prep that we've done up to this moment will be able to allow people to get the care here in California.
So what would you say to patients this morning who are still feeling worried, even living in the state of California?
I would say that abortion is still legal here in California and that we are ready to provide that care. What the Supreme Court did today basically limits access depending on where your zip code is. But here in California, our health centers are ready and able to serve. So continue to make those appointments and continue to seek the care you need despite what the Supreme Court has ruled today.
Right. Thank you, Lauren, for joining us this morning. And as we have mentioned, the right to an abortion could become a constitutional right in California. A bill to amend the state's constitution will ultimately require voter approval. Approval sailed through the state Senate on Monday night. The bill now heads to the state assembly. State lawmakers for and against this amendment to the state constitution said the following. Take a listen.
The Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization case, the leaked draft Supreme Court opinion, and the vitriolic debate that followed has proven how precarious our reproductive rights are. This moment has taught us that California needs to be prepared. Those who are determined to strip away our rights will not stop with this case, and neither can we.
If there's any fear and dread across the state of California for women, it's because perhaps people in this legislature have whipped them up into a frenzy of fear, because under no circumstances that I can possibly imagine is abortion going to be in peril in California, no matter what the Supreme Court decides.
Again, if this is approved, it would put the proposed amendment on the November ballot, and then that would be up to you to decide. Thank you for joining us. This has been a breaking news update. The Supreme Court this morning ending constitutional protections for abortion that have been in place for nearly 50 years. I'm Bria Love, and you can stay with ABC 10 on air and online throughout the day on this historic ruling.